Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. What's happening in London is going to happen here. London's bluff is being called. The banks are not solvent. The gold is not on hand. This may very well lead to the end of the United Kingdom. What is happening in London?
Oh, boy. You know, London, my God, what a disaster that place is now. It's incomprehensible. It's so sad. I mean, Britain has sunk to lows that are beyond belief. The British economy, setting that aside for a minute, but nevertheless, that thing is being hollowed out. They don't produce anything. They don't manufacture anything. They're worse off than we are. But the point on gold is this. Normally it takes, according to Alasdair Macleod, and you can find him on YouTube and the internet, Alasdair Macleod. He's a brilliant gold expert and analyst. He's not the only one, but I just think he's one of the best. And he pointed out that normally gold selling and buying, that process is settled within 2 or 3 days. He said now it's taking up to and more than 6 weeks. And so he asked the question at the London Metals Exchange, what's wrong? And everybody kind of looks at him and refuses to say much. And finally someone speaks up and says, well, we're having trouble finding the gold. Well, then where is the gold? It's supposed to be under the streets of London. What's happened to it? Who sold it off if they sold it off? Why aren't there adequate quantities? And one of the comments that I made, which is not untrue, if you added up all the gold that Indian housewives currently own, it's more than the gold on hand in London. Now, why is this significant? Well, it's significant because President Trump has rightly identified this gold issue as equally sensitive for us. You know, remember Bernanke? He was asked a long time ago by Ron Paul, Mr. Bernanke, why is it that banks maintain some quantity of gold on hand? And he said, well, it's really tradition. He said, oh, it's not really worth anything. He said, it's really tradition. Okay, well, tradition is about to hit everybody in the face. And gold is important because ultimately, at the end of the day, if your currency is not backed by hard assets, your currency is worthless. And that's the danger in Great Britain. And that's the danger here, which is why now President Trump wants to do several things, one of which is find out what we've got. And it's not just Fort Knox. We've got gold under West Point. We've got gold in the Federal Reserve. We've got gold in the Treasury Department. We've got gold under the bank, under the sidewalks of New York. And just about 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was Merkel who wanted to repatriate Germany's gold to Germany. She only got 40% of it back, and then nothing came. And the Germans asked the question, where's the rest of our gold? And they were told to shut up. So we don't know what we've got either. So now Trump has talked to Bessemer and said, well, we need to revalue the gold because gold is worth much more than $42 an ounce. It's worth thousands of dollars an ounce. I don't know if that'll work or not, Jimmy, but the point is that Britain is a little ahead of us. And all of this has to be seen as part of the problem with treasuries. Remember, in London, they call a treasury a gilt. Gilt is from the old German word Geld, which means money. And the gilts in London are not selling. No one wants to buy the British debt. Gee, I wonder why. Your economy's tanked, you're not producing anything, and you don't seem to have gold. Well, if the treasury market collapses, the gilt market, that's the end of the economy. What about us? We're having trouble selling our debt. And so we keep raising interest rates. And as we're raising interest rates to try and sell our debt that nobody wants to buy, not nobody, but very few, you have a problem because the Fed wants to do what? Suppress interest rates. But at some point, you lose control. And that's what people are afraid the Bank of England and the Fed are going to do, lose control. You can't control the interest rates. They rise precipitously. And all of a sudden, you're broke because you can't possibly service the national sovereign debt.
Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.